my little jack-o'-lantern now created, I'm ready to start assembling my card. Now the pattern papers I'm using come from the Bella Boulevard Too Cute to Spook collection, and here I have a piece of this purple on one side and these little monsters on the other side. And it's cut to 4 by 5 1/4. And then I have this little piece of, it's just 1 inch wide by 5 1/4 inch long of this striped pattern, which has these jack-o'-lantern faces on the back. So I'm going to start by taking this piece of pattern paper, and I'm just applying some double-sided adhesive to the back, and then I'm going to stick it along the bottom of this pattern paper piece like so. And then I'm going to take, I have a couple strips here of Stampin' Up's scallop polka dot ribbon, and here I've got a piece that is just over 8 inches long. And I'm going to take some of my adhesive, I'm going to run it along the edge of my pattern paper piece like so, and then I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to stick it to that adhesive. I'm leaving probably about 3/4 of an inch. Actually, I think I took the wrong ribbon here. I'm taking the ribbon piece here that's about 7 inches. The other piece I'm using for my faux bow. So this one here, I'm laying it across and then putting some adhesive on the ribbon and then just folding them around the back. There you can see what that looks like. So my jack-o'-lantern is going to sit on the ribbon, kind of overlapping it a little bit like that. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on stamping the greeting. So the greeting that I'm using is this Happy Halloween greeting, and this is an Inkadinkado stamp. I've already got it set up on my imaging sheet to help me determine the placement. So I want to stamp it so that it's about 3/8 of an inch from the right hand edge and about 1/4 of an inch up from the bottom. Now I'm stamping it in pigment ink because I'm going to be embossing it using Wow Embossing Powder's Primary Ebony Superfine Embossing Powder. So I've already gone ahead and I've set up the image on my imaging sheet. Just make sure that didn't shift. And then taking a little spot of this black pigment ink and stamp, and then working over coffee filter here, I'm going to sprinkle on my embossing powder. And then I'm going to heat this with my heat tool until the embossing powder melts. So there you can see what my greeting looks like once it's been embossed. The embossing really helps it pop off the pattern paper background. So now I'm going to stick this to a standard 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card, which I created out of the Paper Tray Inks black cardstock. And I'm just going to center and stick this piece onto my card front. I'm going to put a little bit more adhesive. I'm using a little bit more adhesive than normal because I find that when you emboss, it does have a tendency to kind of warp the paper a little bit. The heat from the heat tool does that. And this way, with a lot of embossing, it kind of helps smooth it out and flatten it out. So there you can see what that looks like. So now it's time to add our little jack-o'-lantern. And to stick him on, I'm going to use some Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'm just using the edges. These Stampin' Dimensionals are from Stampin' Up. And I like to use the edges of my dimensionals for long pieces like this. So then I'm just going to stick my jack-o'-lantern on there so he kind of overlaps the ribbon. It's kind of centered on the ribbon. So now I'm going to take my longer piece of ribbon and I want to create a faux bow. So for that, I'm going to set my card aside for a moment, and here I've got my mini glue dots. I'm going to take the end of my ribbon, stick it to a mini glue dot, And then I'm going to fold this inwards, like so. And then I'm going to take another mini glue dot kind of at where the center of this is going to be. So you can see here how I've kind of created a loop, and then I'm going to create another loop. So to hold the ends of the loop in place, I'm using a mini glue dot, and I'm trying to keep the mini glue dot at the center. And you want your loop, you want your scallops to be kind of aligned, and you also want your loops to be the same size. And then any overhanging ribbon, you just cut using your scissors, like so. And then you can stick that ribbon over top of your first ribbon piece, once again using a mini glue dot. So there you can see from the side we've got our ribbon. Now here I have a button from Papertrey, and I have some twine. This is from the Twinery, and I'm going to feed one end down through one hole. This is a 4-buttoned hole, and then I'm going to feed that end up through the hole that's next to it, and then down through the hole across from that one, and then finally up through the last hole. And then that gives you the two ends going across from each other, overlapping that one threaded piece in the middle. Now the piece of twine that I started out with was probably about 8 to 10 inches long. Oftentimes, rather than cutting the twine, I tend to work on the, leave the twine on the roll, and I find I waste less that way. And then I've just tied this in a bow, just adjusting the ends, and then giving them just a little trim. Then I'm taking this, I'm going to put a couple of glue dots at the back, and then sticking that right at the center of my loop. So there you can see what that looks like.